There are so many models on OnlyFans who want to work with high quality OnlyFans management agencies. But if you're watching this video right now, you're most likely not a high quality OnlyFans management agency. But how do you get there? One of the biggest problems you're gonna run into right off the bat of starting your OnlyFans management agency is finding a model who's willing to trust you and give you the keys to the castle of managing their OnlyFans management account. But there are several ways to go about doing this, and I'll explain ways that you can quickly get some hands-on experience with doing this, all while simultaneously getting your first model at the same time. Hey, I'm Patty OFM, your friendly neighborhood OnlyFans manager, managing girls in the top 1% and helping other OnlyFans management agency owners achieve their dreams of growing, scaling, and optimizing their own OnlyFans management agencies with the absolute best processes out there. Shoot me a follow and a DM to my Instagram, which is in the description of this video, and let's connect on Telegram. So first, before even reaching out to your first model to try to work with them, the expectation, and I guess the way I want to preface the rest of this video, is that it is essential for you to understand and do your homework on a traffic method or two that you want to test with that first model. OnlyFans traffic is the #1 most important part of OnlyFans. And I've said this in previous videos, and I'm not gonna beat the dead horse right now, but just make sure that you have that ready to go and you have some ideas as to how you're gonna drive traffic before even reaching out to any models. Once you have some traffic methods identified that you wanna do and test when it comes to working with your first model, you have a couple different options, right? So the most obvious one and simple one would be to work with a model that you know in real life who has either not created an OnlyFans account but has thought about it, or a model who has an OnlyFans account but hasn't had really a ton of success with growing it. The reason you don't want to work with someone who you know in real life who already has a very large following on OnlyFans is because what's going to happen is that if you do somehow convince her to work with you just because she knows you in person and she trusts you, you're going to go into the account and most likely fuck it up. And you're not going to be able to drive traffic. You're not going to be able to drive revenue because this is your first model, and she's going to sniff that out and leave. And the problem with that is that if you come back around once you do have experience and ask her to be your model, she's not going to become your model and client. She's going to say, fuck that, you fucked up the first time, I don't trust you. So it's essential to really work with someone who's a little bit smaller to be able to get your feet wet and really understand how OnlyFans works and hopefully provide some solid results for them. But yeah, the reason why it's better to work with a smaller model is because she's going to have a little bit more patience when it comes to you getting results and testing different methods versus someone who's larger and expects immediate results. Once you get bigger and once you get more experience, you can reach out to some of the larger models and potentially get some to work with as your clients. But please don't do this at first. You're gonna look like a fucking idiot and you're gonna suck at it, and you're not going to be able to run it effectively at all. The reason why working with someone you know personally is the best option is because they're going to trust you a little bit more, and they're going to have a little bit more patience with regard to some of your trial and error that you do with regard to your traffic sources, unless of course they're big, which like I said before, avoid working with a larger model, because if you do, you're honestly just gonna look like an idiot, you're gonna fuck up, and you're gonna lose the ability to work with them in the future. But let's say you are the vast majority of people watching this video right now, and you don't know someone in real life who wants to start an OnlyFans or has an OnlyFans or whatever it is. It's going to take a good amount more effort on your part to be able to find your first model. So you just have to stay patient and stick with it. First off, I've heard methods of people getting their first models by, reaching out to girls on escort websites or like going to strip clubs and sneakily offering their services to strippers just because it's a very similar line of work. I don't recommend doing this because not only is it risky, like if you get caught like trying to solicit a stripper and you're at the strip club, like bad things are gonna happen. And also the level of clientele, the quality of clientele, like sex workers, is a little bit questionable. You might get a shitty ass experience the first time around, and it might cause you to quit. So I would just avoid that altogether. Instead, my recommendation would be to do the groundwork yourself and put in the time doing research on websites like OnlyFinder or Hubite.com or OnlySearch.com, looking specifically for models who have probably 10,000 or less likes on their page, because those models who have that many likes most likely are running their own page. Now, it's not 100% foolproof and a guarantee that these models with less than 10,000 likes run their page, like a lot of agencies run pages like this, but it will help your cause when it comes to reaching out. Don't be an idiot and don't waste your time with models who have hundreds of thousands of likes. They're 100% working with an agency. I mean, honestly, there are some models who have that many likes who run their own page 100% on their own, but for the most part, they at least have some sort of help at that level. So don't waste your time. When it comes to actually reaching out to these models, I would stick to reaching out to them on OnlyFans itself, just because that's where every model who runs their own page checks every single one of their DMs and reads it. Also, you can limit yourself to reaching out to free pages only, but it might be worth the investment of paying for certain pages that are not free, like premium pages, and sending your message that way, just because those models don't have a whole bunch of agencies as well in their DMs, because most agencies wouldn't spend money on a subscription just to send us like basically a sales message like this. So it might be worth your money. Completely up to you though, depends on your budget. As far as your messaging itself, when you're sliding into these models' DMs on OnlyFans, you should make it very clear that you do not want them to be your OnlyFans management agency client right now. I know that sounds kind of counterproductive and counterintuitive as to what your end goal is. Obviously, you're looking for your first client, but instead, you need to be offering free services to drive traffic to their OnlyFans without any strings attached. Don't be asking for access to their OnlyFans. Don't be asking for any social media access, because an OnlyFans model is not going to give you the keys to the castle to a strange internet man who happened to slide into their DMs on OnlyFans. Really just explain that you want to drive traffic to their page for free. Your DM should be extremely simple and to the point, and don't overpromise and underdeliver. Just be honest with this DM. So there are 4 components that you need to include in your messaging to these OnlyFans models on OnlyFans. The first one is your what. What do you want to do? You want to drive traffic to their page. Number 2 is that you want to drive traffic to their page for free. You need to include the fact that you're doing this for free and there are no strings attached. The third component is the why. Why are you doing this for free? It's because you want to break into OnlyFans management and you want to perfect and optimize several different traffic methods that you've been testing and researching on your own. And then 4, you need to include a way for the model to contact you off of OnlyFans, such as like an email or your phone number or like a DM on Instagram. They need to be able to contact you off OnlyFans if they're interested. When you do this, you're gonna get a lot of models who are highly skeptical of what you're saying, and you're gonna get a lot of ignored messages and just hard no's, like girls are gonna tell you to fuck off. And that's just because this industry is completely polluted with dog shit, unfortunately. But there are a lot of models out there who would love to have traffic driven to their account for free with no strings attached, without them needing to give all of their login credentials to some guy who's messaging them on OnlyFans. Like, just figure out a way to make this DM that you're sending out as concise and to the point as possible, because if you send out like a wall of text that takes up the entire screen, like no fucking person is going to read that. Like they're gonna see that wall of text and be like, fuck that, and then they're gonna click off and they're just gonna go about their day. So make sure it's extremely concise. So once you do get a model who hits you up on whatever alternative form of communication you have in your initial DM, what you're going to want to do next is just explain in a little bit more detail as to what your plans are. You don't need to go into too much detail, like the exact specifics of what you're doing, but just say like, hey, I have a dating app method that I want to bring to the table and test on your account and see if we could potentially drive some new subs your way. And then set expectations as to what you would potentially need from the model. So you need obviously an open line of communication with them so that they can explain results and give you details on how many subs they're getting from your methods, how many clicks, that type of thing. You also need her to obviously provide you with a tracking link so that you can use that tracking link for whatever methods you use. And then obviously the level of content that you need, most likely going to be safe for work content for the most part when it comes to testing some of these methods. A call probably isn't necessary. You probably don't need to schedule a call with her. I would say most of the time what you're trying to do can be communicated through just messaging her or emailing her. Maybe she wants a call sometimes, but to be honest, it's probably best just to save some fucking time. This is where the fun part begins, because now your job is to strictly drive traffic to that model's page, doing anything you possibly can based on your previous research on traffic methods. So test, 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 be relentless with your testing. Don't stop, don't give up. If something fucking doesn't work, then reshift and reallocate what you're doing and tweak just whatever method it is that you have in place until you figure out a way to consistently get results. I've talked about this in previous videos, but you can pretty much turn any channel into an agency dependent way to marketing your model. So test anything that you initially did your homework on and don't give up, because there are methods out there that work. And then just stay, in constant communication with the model so that you can get constant results and constant updates on whether or not the shit that you're doing is working. Once you find a method that consistently works, both yourself and the model is going to become very aware of this. You've essentially at this point proved yourself to be valuable. So give yourself a round of applause. Obviously the job's not even close to done, but this is a huge moment. What you should do is that at this point, you should consider how you're going to potentially make the next step. This model should hopefully trust you a little bit more now because she sees that you're driving traffic to her page and sees that you're legit and a hard worker. So my recommendation would be to ask her if she is running her second account, because every model can actually have 2 OnlyFans accounts each. And if she's not, then ask if you can run that second account 100% on your own, and then give her 50% of whatever revenue that you earn on that second account. The reason why she's most likely going to say yes to this is because she doesn't have to sacrifice any revenue that she's doing on her primary account, and she's basically giving you the option to make her an additional 50% on whatever you do on that account without any risk to her. Obviously, not every model is going to be willing to do this, regardless of how well you did with regard to driving traffic, but since you've proven yourself as a hard worker, there's a pretty high likelihood of her saying yes. And if she says yes, then congrats, you officially have your first client and your first ability to actually make revenue within this industry. So, at this point, obviously make sure you go through your contractual process, like send her a contract to formalize the agreement, and also go through your onboarding process itself, make sure everything's sound with regard to that. If she says no, then at least you have a proven traffic method so you can go to other models now and at least explain yourself and how you're going to be successful with them. But to be honest, I would say like 90 to 95% of the time that model's going to allow you to work that second account, unless they're big, of course. But that's, the same thing I was talking about earlier, where it's super important to work with a smaller model at first rather than a large one. Then it's time to scale. It should be a lot easier to get your second and third and fourth and whatever number of model that you wanted to get in the future, because now you should have tangible experience with working with an existing client, and you can explain what you've done and you can showcase your experience at this point. But my recommendation is really just fine tune everything to do with your first model before even thinking about getting a second model. Like make sure the account management portion of things is fine tuned, make sure the chatting's great, make sure everything's fully hands off and automated as much as it possibly can be, at least, before trying to find that next model. But that's pretty much it, guys. I know that there's other ways to get your first model, and this video kind of just gave you a rough outline as to how to go about doing it, but this shit fucking works, and it's probably one of the harder ways to do it, and it takes a lot of time, and you're not going to be really making any money at first, but at least you're not cutting any corners. And if you are successful and you do end up getting that model to allow you to work that second account, then it's going to pay dividends in the end, and you're going to have a really good relationship, by the way, with that first model. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you found some value in this video, I really would appreciate a like and a comment on this video. And I'm gonna be coming out with way more content with regard to OFM. There's really endless topics to talk about when it comes to this industry on a weekly basis. So make sure you subscribe and stick around for the long run. But other than that, appreciate it, guys. And I'll talk to you next week. See ya.